This is Ralph Rensler, director of the Smithsonian Bicentennial Folklife Festival. If you enjoyed the festival, you'll be interested in this invitation.
Ladies and gentlemen, an opportunity like this cannot be taken for granted.
This evening, we are going to be beating our hearts out for you all, so I want to see people enjoying themselves. So get up and feel the music and do something about it, okay?
This event is a rite of cultural democracy.
We have many, many partners, you included. I encourage you to stand alongside with us as we travel this journey year after year.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2022 Smithsonian Folklife Festival, produced by the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage, co-presented by the UAE Embassy, and co-sponsored by the National Park Service. For over 50 years, the festival has convened people on the National Mall to explore, exchange, and engage the power of culture and creativity in our lives today. This year, in addition to the United Arab Emirates, we also feature Earth Optimism. Make sure to check out both programs, our marketplace, and add your festival stories to ours by using the hashtag 2022Folklife. The festival is made possible by people like you. Visit our website, festival.si.edu, to join our community of contributors. We also receive federally appropriated funds, Smithsonian Trust funds, contributions from governments, businesses, foundations, and individuals, in-kind assistance, and food recording and craft sales. This year, additional support is provided by the Timoshev Family Foundation. Promotional support is provided by the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the UAE Ministry of Culture and Youth, and the UAE Embassy in Washington, D.C. Additional support provided by Etihad Airways. The festival strives to maintain an accessible and inclusive environment for visitors of all abilities. If you are in need of accessible seating options or assistive listening during this presentation, please see the venue manager volunteer who is wearing an Ask Me button for assistance. You can find detailed accessibility information about all of our festival services, including American Sign Language interpretation, audio description, real-time captioning, and a variety of other services on our festival website or by visiting the accessibility information table, which is located inside the volunteer tent. We're here today from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. with special concerts taking place most of our evenings beginning at 6:30. Today we're ending the day with a concert from some guests and friends from the Ozarks. You can find all the most up-to-date information on our schedule on our website, festival.si.edu. My name is Rebecca Fenton. I'm one of the co-curators of our festival program, United Arab Emirates Living Landscape, Living Memory. I'm so pleased to welcome you all to a festival program that explores traditional knowledge and the environment, that explores creativity, that explores a sense of belonging in a changing and diverse society. It's a beautiful day here in Washington, D.C., and I hope that you're enjoying the weather wherever you are if you're watching from afar. I'm very pleased to welcome Nihad Hendawi, Mustafa Al-Fardan, and His Excellency Ahmed bin Thani to this session, Sea and Sky in the UAE. Please, Nihad.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everyone. We are happy to be here with you and talking about sky and sea in UAE, as from Silesius navigation to the Hope Mars probe. Voyaging is part of the UAE experience. Now we will learn about the traditional navigation, sailing, and pier diving traditions. Please welcome with me His Excellency Ahmed bin Thani, expert in sailing, boat building, and pier diving, and he's the author of the book called Al-Ghos Bu Sabi' Arzak. That's mean Piers, father of 7 goods from God. Please welcome him. And Mr. Mustafa Al-Fardan, he's researcher in cultural heritage, specialist again in pearls, and he comes from a famous family for pearl merchants.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, Bu Umar.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning from Washington and good evening from Dubai.
Good evening from Dubai. Thank you for the invitation, and I am wishing you a successful folklore week in Washington, D.C.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Ahmed, we would like to start with you. If you give us like introduction about the importance of sea travel in UAE history and navigation.
I think the maritime history all over the world was important, and so important for trade and for exchange culture and traveling people from continent to continent. And the issue with the United Arab Emirates and the Arabian Gulf countries was linked with pearl diving, trade, and fishing. So it was very important for the people who live in the Gulf here to use the sea and sail to get their living. You know, they are pearl divers, they are fishermen, and they are traders. So without the link of the maritime routes, it will be impossible for them.
Thank you. And we move to Mr. Mustafa. If you tell us more about like how you became researcher for pearl diving, like what you learned from your father, your grandfather, and how you build up your experience in this.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank Rabika and thank Nihad for this interview, and also Mr. Ahmed, who is all the way from Dubai, joining us, and also all the audience around us here. Thank you very much for this session. When we talk about the culture of United Arab Emirates, it's the history of almost 7,000 years related with the sea. So the relationship with the sea, it's very strong, and it's because the source of living only. Without the sea, it's going to be very, very difficult for people to be around the shore. So this is why the heritage families from generation to generations, they are linked with the sea and with the sea activities, and from father to father, grandfather to grandchildren, until today's. It's look like it's our habit, it's our blood to go to the sea, because the sea is really far, very close to our house where we live. So this kind of attachment, there is a lot of history with it, a lot of reminding things with it. Plus, it's living also. As Mr. Ahmed mentions, there are pearl divers there, there are fishers, and also there are traders who travel from their ships from place to place to get their living. So the attachment between UAE people with the sea, it has long history. So this is why we are really attached with the sea.
Mr. Ahmed, we would like to ask you, like, how is this body of knowledge relevant to nowadays, present days in UAE? Like how this culture of the sea, like trading, navigation system, related to nowadays in UAE?
I think that the government is giving this issue a great importance, and there is big numbers of museums and collectors to write and to collect all these items like boats, like pearls. We have a dedicated special pearl museum in Dubai, and our brother Mustafa knows about this. And the cultural authorities trying to make this link and tie between the generation, the new generation. Of course, they didn't live that era, and they hear only from their father and grandfather, and they read from books. But if we go through some of the numbers, I have them. Maybe I put them in the screen now. In 1906, we have around 1,836 diving boats. They are searching plus 256 seabed, pure seabed in the Arabian Gulf, and the total income of the pure price in the Arabian Gulf was over $4 million when it was $8 million worldwide. So we were dealing of more than 50% of the global pearl trade at that time. So it is important to give the new generation all this information to get better information about this.
Thank you. And if I may ask you one more question about navigation, Mr. Ahmed. Like as we just say in the introduction, from Seychelles navigation to Hope Mars probe, like can we talk about like little bit about navigation, Durur calendar, like UAE people used to use like this, what we called it simple calendar, Durur, but it's based on their experience. But nowadays with the navigation and with this, a lot of change and speed change in UAE, especially in navigation.
Yes, at that time, there were no maps or internet or chart plotters. They are only using the sky and the stars and the constellation to navigate. All the people using the star and the sky, either the maritime people or the desert crossing people, and the third people who are using the stars to get their timing and seasons are people who deal with agriculture and grow plants in the Arabia. So the stars was the main directional and point to give them the accurate navigation. Now, if we go to the compass, the direction on the compass comes on three methods. The first one comes on cardinal point, which is north, south, east, west. And it comes on degrees also, which is 360 degrees all around the circle. But what the Arab use, they use the star calendar, star compass. The star compass consists of 32 stars. One of them is Polaris, and one of them, the opposite way, is the South Pole. Between them, we have 15 to the right, which is rising stars, and to the west will be the same rising star going as descending stars. So before the compass came and the Arab navigator used it to navigate, they were using stars. And also, as you mentioned, the season of everything, like season of fishing, of different type of fishing, season of pearl diving, and season of growing crops, depend on Canopus star, what we call it Suhail, and it has the Arabic name now. It has the Arabic name Suhail star. Suhail star rises in the Arabia in 18th of August, and from this date, the calendar starts for 65 days. And each 10 days, we call them Dar, and that consists of 365 days. So everything was linked to that big sky. They are looking, it is just a little look on the sky at the night, and he will know which season he is without any other reference.
Thank you, Abu Umar. Back to Mr. Mustafa. As your Al Fardan family, a very famous family for merchant and pearls, would you like to tell us more about your memories with pearls merchant specifically?
Yes, as you mentioned from the beginning that it's this kind of jobs back home. It's heritage from generation to generations. Yani I'm the fifth generations of pearl merchants who deal with this project or deal with this business almost like we are talking about 300 years more or less. So all these informations, I can hear it from my grandfather, from grandmother, and my uncles, so every day that we are hearing some things about one of the stories that's happened in the past. So that's really stuck with us. It's stuck with our blood. So, after I did my study, my computer programming, I thought it's nice to do, to write or to make more important study in this subject to get something, maybe it's unknown. I find out that the pearl, I think everybody know that we are talking about the pearl, natural pearl. You know the pearl? You know the pearl, natural pearl. There is culture ones. We are not talking about culture pearls. We are talking exactly about natural pearls, which is, this has come from the wild. No any human beings influence in that. So these kind of pearls, the age of it, we are talking about more than 7,000 in the area. By the way, there is, last maybe 3 years ago, they found one natural pearl in Abu Dhabi, in one of the islands there. It's called Murawah Island. And when they tested the pearl, they found it is 8,000 years old. It's 8,000 years old. And this pearl now, it's in Abu Dhabi Museum, they call Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. You can do the search and you can find this pearl. So this is our history. This is how we get it from our heritage. And we built in it with the new information, with a new technology. I found out also here in the United States, there are pearl divers. There are pearl merchant also. I would like to share with you today small or beautiful story. If you know Cartier who have the boutique of the jewelry, he bought a necklace, two-line necklace from back homes there, and he wanted to sell it in Paris that times, but he rather to come to New York to buy a shop there in 6th Avenue. So that the owner of the shop, he said, okay, give me these 2 string of pearls with $100 at that time. I'll give you my shop. So this is how Cartier started his business in New York, from this way. But unfortunately, this pearl necklace been stolen after 2 or 3 days. So this is the story regarding that. Yes, this is how the United Arab Emirates linked with the others country, with other society, with other traders from, it's long times, even since the Silk Road between China and West and East. So all these accumulation things, it come to us, and we take it generation to generation. This is why we are here today, to tell about our story, to make our kids, our new generation to understand these things. But we like to put it in a new technology. We are using, for example, AI technology to develop these stories to the people. We have here in this area of the pavilion of United Arab Emirates, a majlis where you can go there and you can find the way that the society get together, how they are sit together, how they learn. Our majlises, it's open. From the ruler of the country, his majlis is open for the people until the normal people who's doing their work daily. So they are getting together. These majlises exchange the informations, stories. I know I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the majlis. A majlis, it's a room that, for example, a room that people get together. So, for example, the pearl divers or the pearl merchant, they have their own majlis. So when they sit and they talk, they exchange this information. This is how it is come to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mustafa. Back to memories with Mr. Ahmed. In Dubai, we have this Chandaga Museum. Culture of the Sea, we have a pavilion called Culture of the Sea, and we display a big dhow there, has been built by your father, Allah yarhamu, Muhammad bin Thani. So I would like to ask you, like, how these memory, like you are come from different field, in your real life you are from different field, how these memory from your father for dhow building affect your life, and how these memories push you to write this interesting book. And please tell us some story.
Well, I was a helper for my father when I was a kid. You know, I was almost 10 years ago, and I was 10 years old. And after we finished the school, you know, we go to his workshop. It was just adjacent to the house where he used to build so many different boats. And as kids, we start playing there, and then hooked to this workshop and trying to help. So through this memories, we've seen a lot of his friends gathering there while he's working, and part of them, they are peer divers, some of them fishermen, and they will come every day, morning time and afternoon time. They will take some coffee, tea, and they, like Mustafa said, that there is so many stories will be told there about peer diving, about their navigation, about the fishing trips. So it affects me, and I think this is the main driver to give me a support to write my book about this whole story. I was a listener and try to gather and collect all these things in one book. Maybe the things I'm being hooked in is the woodworking, and maybe you could see the boat model which is behind me. It is my work. I built it. So it gave me a great importance to follow my father's career.
Thank you very much. So now talking from history to present, all of these memories and all of these experience from Culture of the Sea that built the present day for UAE.
Yes, again?
Yes, like all of these memories and all of this history of Culture of the Sea, like pearl diving, merchant, journeys, fishing, it's built the UAE nowadays.
Exactly. Yes, this is exactly what you are saying. It's right. It's built UAE. UAE since 1971 to get united as Emirates, as a nation, as one country. But before that, before the united, each state, it has a lot of histories, as we said. So now the nation or United Arab Emirates try to put as much as it can to keep this history, to keep this heritage, to keep this roots for the generations after generations. Because of the pearl, that all the accumulations and experience that we have with the pearl, when we get the oil there, so all these experience has shift to the oils. And many of these people who work in the sea area or in the pearls as a merchant, when the petrol is come there, they come to the petrol and then developed because they have experience, because they are working with others, they are travelers. So this is why today you see United Arab Emirates. It's one of countries that, and its importance in the Middle East there, of the development, of the educations, health, security. This is because of the hustles of our grandfathers, and the people who built these estates before. Now, our rule is to transfer these hustles and transfer these informations, accumulations to the new generations by the new technology, by the AI things, by the technology that as a data transfer and all these things. This is how we are as a country.
And Mr. Ahmed, we would like to hear from you if you have any addition, like how this history, strong history, build UAE today.
I think the pier diving especially was the most important fundamental for the commerce and the trade at that time. Because if you look on all the field, there was no other things on the ground. There's no trade. The cargo and the maritime trade was through the sea, and there is no agriculture. So people was dependable on the sea, either fishermen and pier diver or traders. So the Arabian Gulf and the United Arab Emirates play a great role to connect the east and west. There were the diver, they dive, for example, in the Arabian Gulf, and after that season finish, they go to dive in Sri Lankan area, and some of them they cross south of the Arabian Peninsula to the Red Sea to practice spear diving in the Red Sea and come back. So all these practices link the United Arab Emirates nation with their neighbors, with the other continent like India and East Africa.
Thank you. Talking about this specifically, Mr. Ahmed, like UAE used to be the link between East and West. And we are talking about like even the history, like for Saruq al-Hadid, we found like those seals from Egypt or from Mesopotamia. But especially for sea, as we're talking about the sea, all dhows or all trade dhows, maritime trade, the dhow itself, like how it's do the connection, how it reflects the culture between UAE, like with the Persia or with India, with the market, with the people. And would you please talk about this? Like the dhow itself, like building the dhow, bringing the wood from other country, doing the trade between these countries.
First of all, the boat building or the dhow building was a big industry at that time. As you know, the Arabia didn't have enough wood to build all these dhows, but we import that wood from India and from East Africa and we use some of the local wood and trunks to build dhows and boats. So this industry was very, very important to allow people to travel and to bring all the goods and merchant travels all over the world. This is one issue. The other issue is the need of the people and market. The main meal in the Gulf was the rice and fish. The fish will catch it in the Arabian Gulf, but the rice we don't grow it, so it comes from India. All these big dhows use only the sail navigation at that time, and they cross the Indian Ocean to the Arabian Gulf, and we got some of the traders also travel to the East African to do the same job. So it play a great role as a commerce and social link and trade.
Thank you. Mr. Mustafa, talking about the piers, how does it make you feel when you know like your grandfather or grandfather piers are wearing by Queen Elizabeth or Maharaja in India, and you know the journey of these piers from Dubai till that?
Yes, of course. I feel happy, and then I feel proud of that. That, all the celebrities, king, queens, they are wearing these pearls. Until today, if you look at the main, what they call it, the crown of the Elizabeth crown, the Queen Elizabeth, her crown, you will find almost there are 125 natural pearls in this crown. So that really give me proud that one day our productions or our pearls, it's all over the world, but for the nobles, for the king, queens, maharajas, and as you said, yes.
Thank you. So we represent here, yes. We would conclude now like the cultural exchange. We came from Dubai to present our from UAE, Dubai, especially you, Mr. Fardan, and Dubai Culture, Shantaga Museum, and Mr. Abu Umar, he's from Dubai as well, and UAE to exchange our knowledge, our culture with people here in Washington and their visitor from Folk Life. Rebecca, can you give us like estimated number about visitor here? Tens of thousands of people are showing we are showing them our culture and our heritage. So what you would conclude our session, so we open question and answer. Please, Mr. Ahmed.
Well, thank you very much for this session. I think we need to do this every year to give our friend in the United States more information about the culture and the heritage of United Arab Emirates, especially of the pearl diving. I think what you've done is great. Thank you for all the team who works on this.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you. Yes, yani, of course, we are talking about DC, Washington, DC. It's one of the biggest states all over the world. And we are here for 2 weeks. It is really a good an opportunity to be here and to expert our experience and to share our experience, our history, our heritage with the others. And of course, we learn from them, they learn from us. This is why the Smithsonian Folk Life, it's so that, yes, I really appreciate that, appreciate all the people who did, and like Rebecca and Michelle, they work very hard since even before during the COVID-19 being display, and this year they make it. Thank you very much for that, and thank you also, Nihat.
Thank you. Please, questions? Yeah, please.
The model boat, is it exact size? Is it the model of the small boat that the pearl divers went out? Or is it also representing the big Dowels that went to India?
No, it's only model 1 to 30 scale. Yes.
Okay. And also, with the Latin sails, could they sail into the wind before the sailboats of Northern Europe?
And we can't hear you. Can you please come to the mic?
Microphone, there's a microphone.
So with the lateen sail, they could sail into the wind, unlike the square sails. Could they sail into the wind before the sailors in Northern Europe could sail into the wind? And also, what angle can they sail into the wind compared to today's modern sailboats?
I think Mr. Ahmed, he can answer these questions.
Did you hear the question, Mr. Ahmed?
Yes, I heard the question. The Latin sail can sail within 30 degrees either side of the wind. So, and it depends on kind of the kind of the sail. The traditional pearl diving, for example, boats have 3 types of sail. The sharper edge, the sail, it will give him the closer to the source of the wind. So it will become closer, maybe 30 degrees of the wind direction. Which is whenever they are using the big sail for the cargo ship, they won't able to come close to the source of the wind. Thank you.
Yes, please.
One more question. What kind of wood did they use to make the dowels out of?
Mr. Ahmed.
They use the teak wood as blank. But they use the bones, they use it for different kind of wood, local wood, which is very strong. for the inside structure of the boat. But the outer skin of the boat, they use teak wood. And as you know, the teak wood is very strong, and at the same time, it could stay longer in the salt water and won't be affected as like other kind of woods.
Thank you.
Would even the biggest dhows sometimes use those oars, or were the oars only for the smaller ones?
The oars only for the smaller ones, and the smaller boats use oars and sail. Whether when the big dhow, the cargo dhow, use only sails. They don't use oars. Yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, please. Next question. Can you to the mic, please come to the mic.
He cannot. He have problems.
Yeah.
The Chinese junk ships that came before the medieval times, they were made also of teak wood, and we knew that the Chinese, they destroyed all of their ships. We knew that they had delegations where they would do trade with the civilizations of India and the Arabs of the Middle East, and they would journey as far as South America. Did you all travel, or any of your ancestors travel within the liaison of those Chinese junk ships that came back in that time? The junk ships that we knew that China did away with back in the 13 and 1400s, the latest being like 1421?
Ahmed, okay.
I think none of the local navigator sail with that Chinese ship. I mean, as they join them in that ship. But we have a great scholar navigator in United Arab Emirates. He was in the 15th century. His name is Ahmed bin Majid. He mentioned that he met some of the Chinese big cargo ship in the Indian Ocean, navigation from between the East African coast and the Indian subcontinent. And he was giving some prescriptions and he discovered the way of the Chinese different way of sailing, and he found it different than the way used in the Arabian Gulf.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any question, please?
How would you explain the process of how pearl diving works to someone who knows nothing about it?
Yes, it's very good questions. إذا تسمح لي أحمد.
تفضل بكمل أنا عقبك تفضل.
زين. The process of the sales people or the divers there when they are sailing for divings, usually they start the divings in the end 4 months actually this journey takes in the summer times. So they have to prepare for this. Average of people in the ships, we are talking about 60 to 80. This is average people. So they have a captains, a leaders, and deputy captains, or what is supporting the captains, and the crew, all the crew. All they work in one harmony to achieve their goal. For example, if they want the sail upping the sail in the ship, so there are special kind of song they are singing together to give the rhythm to work as one hand to put up the sail. At the same time, when they are rolling the boat on each side of the ships, for example, if there are 10 here and 10 there, that's 20. You need them to do in the same time to move these المجاذيف هذه مش يسمونها the paddles in the same times and the same second, so to get the effect of it. So also that there is a music, there is a song they do together to put the rhythm in the same times. And of course there are a lot of things there. The small boys or kids there who they are supporting the divers, and at the same time they are learning. So after a couple of years they're going to be also divers and they're going to be captains in the ships. So this is like small briefs. I don't know if Mr. Ahmed, he would like to add some things here.
Well, I think the most important information regarding the field diving season, as you mentioned, Brother Mustafa, it was 4 months and 10 days, 120 days, from they leave the shore until they came back. In this 120 days, they use the fresh water only for drinking and for cooking only. They don't use fresh water bath for this period. They are in the salt from they leave the harbor until they come back. Their working hours reach around 16 hours a day in the summer. It is very hot and very humid in the Arabian Gulf in the summer, and they work for that because they don't have any other source of living. As you mentioned that the boat consists of a captain and a deputy captain and divers and other crew. But the most important thing that they have only one meal a day consists of white rice and fish. And they do it at the evening only. So they don't have breakfast, they don't have lunch. It's only a little piece of dates and water. So it was a very hard time. At that time, people, they will take their children with them in the age of 10 or 9, just to get practice and to get learn. And on the social aspect, the diver is more recognized or highly recognized than the other crew of the boat, because the diver will have a bigger portion of money after the trip ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Any more questions?
All right. Unfortunately, I think we need to conclude. Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Mustafa, Mrs. Nihad, for the stimulating conversation. I want to say that all of you spoke about how hard your ancestors worked and the challenges that they face in this field, navigating the sea, diving for pearls. And I think that your work spreading this history honors their efforts. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
شكرا أبو عمر.
Thank you, Nihad. I wanted to also thank the audience for these knowledgeable questions, which I think reflects the deep interest in sailing in the sea that we have here in our region in Washington, D.C. as well. So as we wrap up, let's also acknowledge our stage manager, sound engineers, online manager, and accessibility providers. They all make these kind of events possible. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
Thank you.